here we are, the end of the summer, beginning of the winter, no greenhouse to take your plants to. And those plants are normally plants we just throw out. We don't think of our pot over the winter. But what you can do is actually plant your planters up now with things that will look great all winter, evergreens that will last. What I'm going to do today is I'm going to do, an arrangement in this pot. And then I don't think you can see this, but what I'm going to do so that I can just pull it out in the spring when I want to put something else in, I'm just going to drop it into this other pot. And that also helps me because one thing about perennials, and it's difficult to find any information on this specifically, but think of the buddleia. The buddleia can die back to the ground and come back up because its roots are more hardy than the top of the plant. But that's not always the case. Sometimes the roots are less hardy, and because they're not going to be in the ground getting insulated, we want to make sure that they're okay over the winter. So what I'm going to do, this pot has a nice lip, and I'm just going to put two-sided sticky tape on the pot. One. Anyway, so what I will do is put sticky tape around the top and the bottom, and I'll probably just take this out and fix it up. I don't want to make you guys wait. And then what I'm going to do is stick bubble wrap on it. Now, bubble wrap is very interesting because what a lot of people who have greenhouses do is spray the window with water, and then the bubble wrap will stick through static pressure. So I'm going to have to put it down. Okay, so now I've got bubble wrap around it, and it will still fit into my pot. And that will probably give you, especially with the air between the two pots, will probably give you a full zone of additional protection for these pots. Now, these can be plants that you want to put someplace in your yard afterwards, next spring, or not. You might want to keep them in pots. One thing you have to be very careful of, though, when you buy these pots, this is a Pyrrhus, which I love, not native. The only native one is not as showy, although there's a native hybrid. This one is a very compact, slow grower. Don't do what I used to do. We'll put something in and think that's the size it's going to be, because it's not. It's going to grow, and then you're going to have to move it. So this gets 2 feet by 2 feet, and it's hardy to zone 5. So that makes it really good for our area because we're zone 6. So that means that its roots are hardier. I'm going to use regular soil. And of course, this pot will take a lot. So if you wanted to put something in the bottom, like peanuts, the best thing to do is, if you have a pair of holy pantyhose, stick the peanuts inside the pantyhose, because otherwise those peanuts will mix in with the soil, and when you dump the bucket out, you've got the peanuts mixed in with the soil. And oftentimes I've had plants, because I used to have an alstroemeria I put in and out every year. And the roots go down and tangle in the peanuts, so there you are, you're stuck. This is somewhat damp. And then I have another bag of the new soil here that Gilbert, the soil mix Gilbert's doing, and it has something in it called azomite. Now, azomite is something that the peony people recommend every year in the fall for peonies, so they can store up energy during the winter. This is another reason why you're going to do it in 2 pots, because you don't want to make the pot too heavy. Unless you, Now, we don't have to follow the rules for flower arranging where you have to look at all 3 sides. It should be finished in the back as well. If this is going to be against a wall, if it's not, you want to do all 3 sides all around, you can do that. I am going to start with this in the middle. It's got some blooms on it, but not a lot. Some good growth on it, and some dead stuff that you want to just take off. And if you have it, you can mix in, what do we use in the greenhouse as fertilizer? Slow release fertilizer, so that in the spring, it will have all the nutrients it needs, although if you have a good soil, you really don't need to do that. And if there are parts that are dead, just cut them off. Then, let's see, oh my gosh, talk about cooperation. There we go. So there's the center of your container. Now, beyond this, I have gone with black or dark colors, except for the epimedium, which is called black seed. This is going to have yellow flowers, and it's going to stay evergreen all winter as well. One reason I really, really like epimediums, nothing takes dry soil, it's a little more overgrown, takes dry soil as well as an epimedium. So this will kind of hang over the edge and give you a nice edge for the plant. Later on, I'm going to put these in. These are natives. This is wintergreen, and sometimes you can smell that. There's no berries on this one. And then to pick up the color, heucheras, which again, that's a native heuchera, which is one of my favorites. And this one is called guacamole. I've got hosta guacamole as well. But this is, again, this is nice and light. And you can see how it picks up the color in the pot. It just makes the pot look much brighter. Your eyes are drawn first to bright colors like this. And then I have, this is Camasiferous Piscifera Gold Moth. And that's going to pick up the same yellows that I'm using in the other section. But I'm going to put it over here. I do have 3 pops of yellow, so I can, because this is the same thing. And so it's going to pick up some more soil there. It's going to pick up all through this. Now, this is Polystechum polyblipharum. And this is an evergreen fern. But some of the leaves have already died, so I'm just going to get my little scissors out and trim them off. All of these can go in your garden, or all of these can stay in the pot in the summertime. But one thing you'll notice is that most of these are not going to take strong sun. In the summertime, you're going to want to put them someplace where they're not going to get burned if you're going to leave them in the pot. See, this is another texture. We added the texture from the cypress, and we have another texture here. And then let's see, I'm going to put that back here. This is a heuchera I found yesterday at Terrain. It's a tiny little dwarf heuchera. And of course, I have a raised bed that's made like a hypertufa trough, only the scale is larger, so I can use slightly larger plants. And this is going to be perfect in it in the spring. I'm always looking for good small plants. Let's see. I think we need to go over here. Okay, this is from Jerre as well, black mondo grass. Notice how I'm kind of squishing the pots before I take the plants out and then turning it over. But if you look at this one, you can see that the roots have come out the bottom of the pot, but it's not pot bound yet. So that's really a good thing. When you buy plants, you want to be a little bit careful of that. And this is big enough with runners coming out. That runner, oops, will be a new clump of mondo grass. But what I'm going to do is get my fingers down in the middle, and twist and pull. I learned this from another member who we used to think was, oh, she's killing that plant. Look at the way she's tearing it apart. But that's not true. What you're doing is you're freeing up the leaves, the roots enough so that they can stretch out and actually move through the soil looking for nutrients. And you can always cut them. As a matter of fact, I have a lot of various types of cutting tools. Okay, here we go. And I'm going to stay with that one. Okay. And then we'll put this one in here. And this one over here. You can see it's taking shape, but you want to crowd it. It's not going to grow a lot over the winter. It's dormant. So what you want to do is make it fuller than you would normally make a pot in the summertime. Because in the summer, you know it's going to grow, and you're going to want to, you don't want to have to move it right away. Then this is the native bearberry, yeah. No, wintergreen. And this is what eventually looks like. And I've read, and this is one reason I don't grow it in the yard, I've read that hummingbirds love to nest in it. And unfortunately, I've got a fox, I've got, raccoons, I got everything else. I'm not going to put my hummingbirds down where I'm afraid they're going to get attacked. And I have one more. I can put either one of these in. It's a nice purple sugar. But I'm going to put the wintergreen in instead because it picks up the red stems on the medium. So that'll go right here. So now you just pick it up. With help, you pick it up. And we put it in the big pot. And then it's nice and cozy. Let's get okay. You can't see the edge where the plastic pot is going over it. Then, if you want to decorate it for Christmas, you can go down to Michael's and find all kinds of things you can find. As a matter of fact, I have lots of lights, battery-operated lights, and you can dress it up for Christmas and have a display outside. Threes. Let's see. Okay. Give it a little sparkle on black to pick up the black from the black plants. So this is essentially what we've got. And that'll be nice all winter. If you want to go smaller, this is Golden Debut Baby Jade Boxwood. And let me see, 2 to 3 inches of mulch. But the point being it's only gonna get 3 feet wide and 3 feet tall. So this, you could even have a pot by itself, and you could string lights on it. Lots of battery operated lights. I'm looking for some, if anybody knows them, that are solar, that you can put on something like this, maybe have a little solar panel sticking up. Ooh. So anyway, don't let your pots sit idle in the winter time. Enjoy them with plants you love and that are cold hardy. Okay, any questions?
Jerry, this is Mari. What was the very first thing you planted in the center? Is that an azalea or what is it?
It's a Pyrus japonica.
Oh, Pyrus japonica. Okay.
And it doesn't get very big. This specifically is a little one. This is actually going to get bigger than that Pyrus. And that's what you have to look for. You have to look for things that have a final size that's not too big for your pot, unless you just want to use them for a year and you want to change the pot out. But the pot needs to be in shade in the summertime because everything that's in here are shade plants.
Jerry, what did you put in? You put potting soil, and then what was the second bag
The
of
second
stuff?
was the new potting mix from Gilberti's that they're making themselves. And I was intrigued when I was down there because it's Sal's Magic Blend of organic compost, peat moss, pine bark, perlite, azomite, and dried turkey manure fertilizer.
Wow.
So that's why I really didn't, I feel like I have dirt on my nose. I really didn't do anything with putting fertilizer in it because it's already there in the soil. And I'm anxious to see how this works because it's always hard to find a potting soil you trust.
Right.
Who knows what, when you buy something and it says it's organic, well, yeah, it's sort of organic, but who had the leaves before? Where were the leaves collected from? Where did that come from? Where did that come from? You never really know. So I kind of trust Gilberti's. They've been around for so long and have done a lot of growing and stretching themselves over the last, well, I've been going to them for 30 years, but they've expanded what they do. They've expanded how they do it. And I just think it's great.
Where did you get your pot again?
The pot's from Terrain. And while not concrete or anything, it's actually not as light as I would like, but then, So I can sort of lift it up before I put everything else in, but there's no way I could move it now. When I put this outside, after I put a little more soil in it, what I'll do is take the insert out, then have my son move my pot outside and then put this out. But I want it so that I can see it from the house.
Hey, Jerry. Jerry,
yeah.
you put, what was the purpose of the bubble wrap? Was it insulation, you said, or?
The purpose of the bubble wrap is insulation, and not only that, by double potting and having the bubble wrap, you sort of have a second type of insulation. The air that's in there is a type of insulation as well, because when plants are in the ground, the soil temperature stays fairly stable. Although anything you plant this right now, you're going to need to check on during the winter because it might get frost heaved, and that's when the roots die. The reason this also drains really well because the bottom of this pot is a little bit above the bottom of the other pot, and that's a really important thing as well, because we don't dig in September for the plant sale, because what happens is you have the plants in that pot, rain, snow, and then an ice dam forms at the bottom, and then you get spring rains, and you're rotting out everything in that pot because the water can't get out. So this is a very free draining pot, but the bubble wrap and the double potting is to make sure that you have insulation to protect any roots that aren't hardy in zone 5 or zone 6.
Is the insert also at Terrain?
Oh no, these are just old upcycling of pots in the back of my barn.
Jerry, it's Jennifer. Do you ever put styrofoam in the bottom, leftover styrofoam in the bottom of the pot to make it lighter and also for drain?
But yes. Wow. It seems we have a flight going over helicopters. I know Karen uses the styrofoam to make the pots lighter, and you can certainly do that. That's why I said at the beginning, if you wanted to use peanuts, to make sure you put them in a mesh bag or in a pair of pantyhose so that they don't get incorporated into the soil as the roots tangle with them. That way you won't have to sift what's in the bottom of the pot to get the peanuts out. So you gotta be careful about that. But yeah, styrofoam in the bottom of these is fine as well, because nothing is gonna grow that much in the winter. The roots are not gonna expand that much. So you don't have to necessarily worry about the stuff that's down at the bottom.
That was smart. I've used styrofoam, but I've never thought about it. You could probably use one of those bulb bags too that we just had.
Yeah, you can use bulb bags as well, or the onion bags, or anything like that.
Can you use like pine cones?
Well, if you use organic material like pine cones, they're going to compress as they decompose.
And keep the water.
So it's going to sink, the design will sink down into the pot as they compress. But for something like this, where it's just for the winter, that probably would be okay, because they're not going to decompose that much just during the winter. Anybody else? If you're interested in doing this by yourself, for yourself, the places I would recommend, Gilberti's had some of the small shrubs left. That's where I got the lime green heuchera, the polystichum, the bearberry, and the epimedium and the purus. But Terrain also has some things like this. They just got in a shipload of small evergreens from Izelli Brothers, which is probably the main supplier. He supplies Oliver's as well, which is another place to go for small trees because of their hypertufa trough work and their wall planting work. But there's another place in North Branford run by Nancy DeBrule, who has spoken to the club, and that's Nature Works. And she also has all her Christmas stuff in now. So that's a fun trip to take if you're looking for something to do on a rainy day. I'm not sure if she's taking appointments, just Google Nature Works and it'll come up. And I mean, heck, if you go to any of those places and they still have bulbs, the ground hasn't frozen. And if you haven't helped plant the 10,000 daffodils for Wilton, you can plant some bulbs in your yard. Anybody else?
Any more questions?
I have a question.
I want to say thank you.
You're very welcome.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Jerry. This is great. I never thought of doing it like this. That makes so much sense.
Well, you think outside the box a little bit, and you can come up with a lot of things that you can do. And all you need to do is find the reasons why things have to be done certain ways. It's trial and error up to a point, but there is information out there. Nancy DeBrule is a good place, because if you look at her website, she may even have some videos showing you how to do this. She does videos on Facebook, on her page. And, I just love investigating these things for you guys, because it really helps me as well. I learn a tremendous amount.
Yeah, no, it's great and it's beautiful. Thank
It
you.
was awesome. Thank you, Jerry.
You're very
Thanks,
welcome.
Jerry.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you
Thank
so
you
much,
very much.
You're all
Jerry.
very welcome.
Thank
Oh,
you.
it's very pretty.
Yeah, have a great day.
Thank you.
Thanks, Nancy, for organizing.
Thank you them. Yeah.
That was great. Thank you.